Hi, welcome to CR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. It's week 8 in college football. It's Friday afternoon, and we are talking with Steve from collegefootballwinning.com, inarguably one of the best in the business in college football handicapping, possibly the best in the business. You could make a strong argument for that, and this is a big week because this is now, Steve tells me, the first week this year, 2016, that his formula picks will go into effect at his website. Right now, we're going to take a look at Eastern Michigan and Western Michigan. This is a very interesting game, so we'll see how Steve breaks it down. But Steve, before we get to it, just quickly tell us about what you do at collegefootballwinning.com and why this is such an important week.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, this is a huge week because at collegefootballwinning.com, we're a company that was founded on making betting recommendations algorithmically using sets of algorithms. And we call those algorithmic betting recommendations for sides our formula. Our formula, the lifetime of this company, is beating the spread at a rate of 59.89%. So that's phenomenal, but this entire season so far, this is the deepest we've ever gone into a season before we could release the formula, and we're looking for consistent predictive numbers. So we finally have them now. Now is the time to join collegefootballwinning.com. So go to collegefootballwinning.com. You put in coupon code SBR10, SBR10, you'll get 10% off of any membership that we're currently offering. And we, even starting right now, you can still get our money back guarantee 100%. You'll get 100% of the money that you spent with us back if we do not beat the spread from now to the end of the season at a rate that is greater than 52.38.
There you go. Steve from collegefootballwinning.com. All right, Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan. This is an interesting game, right? Both teams 6-1 against the spread. Eastern Michigan, a very much improved version of the Eastern Michigan Eagles, right? But Western Michigan is an absolute MAC juggernaut, can blow out any team, even teams at Eastern Michigan's level. The line right now, 23.5 or 24, and that's about where it opened. It was about 22.5 where it opened, so we haven't seen any significant clear move one way or the other since opening. So, if the Sharps were expecting a blowout by Western Michigan, despite how good Eastern Michigan has been, I think we'd be seeing this closer to 27. And if the opposite were true, I think we'd be seeing this, closer to 20. But that's not the case. 23.5 or 24. The total is also uncertain market-wide. 58.5, 59, or 59.5 are all widely available. So uncertainty by the market right now, and I can certainly understand why. Steve, what's your take on this one? Eastern Michigan, Western Michigan.
Okay, great introduction as usual, Peter. Western Michigan is ranked 20th. For the first time in history, okay? Western Michigan has the second longest straight-up winning streak in the nation, second only to Alabama. They are 7-0 straight up for the first time since 1941. Only Alabama, Clemson, and this Western Michigan team are 7-0 straight up so far this season. In financial terms, Peter, if you were to buy Western Michigan right now, you would be buying at the highest possible point maybe in program history. Now, of course, your understanding of financial markets, you want to sell high, not want to buy high in most cases. So we need to examine, is this a case where the value has been drawn out of Western Michigan already? Certainly, they're at a super high point. I don't think we could say the same for Eastern Michigan. Eastern Michigan, they are the team so far with the greatest 2015 to 2016 straight-up turnaround. So turnaround in terms of straight-up wins already, and we're only halfway through the season. The quarterback shuffle at Eastern Michigan is significant. It's noteworthy, we think. Todd Porter, who started the first 5 games of the season, primarily because starting quarterback Brogan Roback, who had 15 starts coming into this season, was suspended for the first 2 games. Well, what's the difference between these two quarterbacks? Both have completed more than 60% of their passes. Both have thrown 7 touchdown passes. Porter has thrown 9 interceptions. Roback has thrown just 1. Now, speaking of the pass, Eastern Michigan likes to pass. They're ranked 28th in the nation in terms of passing yards per game versus FBS competition. Western Michigan, they're a phenomenal team all around, very well-rounded. However, if you're looking for a weakness, they rank just 60th versus FBS competition in passing yards per play allowed. And they've only played one team that's even ranked in the top 50 for passing yards per game. And that was Central Michigan. Western destroyed Central, destroyed them. But why? We need to look at why that happened. It was in large part due to the constant quarterback pressure that they got. In fact, they got 8 sacks in that game. That's the most sacks for a Western Michigan team in 10 years. So the question we need to ask is is the same thing going to happen to Eastern Michigan, also a team that likes to pass? Well, let's look at last week. Eastern Michigan faced Ohio last week. Ohio was number one, not only in the MAC, in the nation, Peter, in sacks entering that game. They were number one. So how many sacks did Ohio get against Eastern Michigan, this team that loves to pass and who did pass all day against Ohio? One sack. In fact, Eastern Michigan has allowed a grand total of 5 sacks all season. There's only one other team in America that has allowed so few sacks and has passed as much as Eastern Michigan. One other team in America. So this offensive line, in terms of pass protection, is playing lights out. Points off of turnovers, the differential. So turnovers, you and I talk about this. We've talked about it for years. Right now, Eastern Michigan, when you look at the differential and points off of turnovers, they're just +1. Western Michigan, +35. And Western Michigan is number 1 in the FBS in turnover margin. So you might be saying, well, my goodness, that suggests Western Michigan is just phenomenal, right? Turnovers, as a statistical category, we've talked about this for years. You've heard me say this. It's the most impactful and most unpredictable or random of the critically significant statistics. So, in other words, if someone is depending on points off of turnovers as how they manufacture points, they are really doing gambling. That is real gambling, not something we want to do. Let's examine the betting data here in this game. This season, sides that are getting at least 65% of the betting action, just like Western Michigan is now, they're getting more than 65% of the betting action, public betting action, as we are recording this. They have won at a rate of just 44.31%. So that does not bode well for the Western Michigan side here. And we know that the squares are going to be all over Western Michigan. Eastern Michigan has won 3 consecutive road games, not only against the spread, Peter, but straight up, and they were underdogs all 3 times. And that's tremendous. Eastern Michigan hasn't had 3 consecutive straight-up road wins since 1967. Western Michigan, on the other hand, has had 3 home games this season. They're 2-1 against the spread. So let's look at how that went. First, they beat the spread by 12.5 points at home. Then they beat the spread by 8.5 points. Then, and most recently, when playing Northern Illinois, they failed to beat the spread by 2.5 points. That should sound 12.5 plus 12.5 plus 8.5 minus 2.5. That should sound a lot like a team that has had the value sucked out of it as a betting side, right? Eastern Michigan has covered the spread in their last 2 games. And why am I bringing up the last 2 games specifically? Because Brogan Roback is back as the starting quarterback, just like he will be for this game. They've beaten the spread the last 2 games by 5.5 points and then by 14 points, an average margin of victory against the spread of 9.75 points per game. Does that sound like a team that has had the value sucked out of it? No, it does not. So my conclusion as of right now, and this could change between now and kickoff specifically, for instance, as counterintuitive as it sounds, Peter, if this line does go to Eastern Michigan plus 27 or more, it's going to be a no play for us. So we're waiting to bet this until just before kickoff. But as it is, if it stays like this, Eastern Michigan getting 24 points, we like Eastern Michigan at plus 24.
All right, you've heard it. Steve from collegefootballwinning.com leaning Eastern Michigan as of Friday afternoon, plus 24. Steve's website again, collegefootballwinning.com. Thanks so much, Steve. Good luck this week. We'll talk to you again next week for College Football Week 9.
Thank you, Peter.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.